Welcome to TikTok as a liminal space for reflexivity in counterhegemonic racial discourse, presented by Rivera Cornier. Alim et al. Argues for the importance of a reflexive approach that entails looking at racialized language as an ideological construct and situating processes of racialization across multiple scales of space and time and within structures of power. These processes of racialization take place in both scholarly and everyday contexts. Therefore, this process of reflexivity, in reference to how language users race language or language race, may also be analyzed in the virtual world. For the purpose of this presentation and research endeavor, I will be focusing specifically on how the app TikTok is a liminal space for this reflexive process as pertains to language and the construction, performance, and analysis of race. TikTok is an app and social networking service where people can share short video content they created. The types of videos can vary. Some creators upload recordings of dances, commentary, or point-of-view recordings or skits, which may be of a political, educational, or other nature. As with other social media apps, TikTok has its own set of community guidelines. These have been criticized as some of these established rules are open to interpretation or often used arbitrarily. A video may be taken down with the justification that there was nudity, for example, when in fact the video in question did not have any nude bodies or anything which could be interpreted as nudity. In addition, when these instances of content suppression occur, users can appeal, but often are refused without explanation. Therefore, although TikTok does not openly discriminate against specific communities, the implementation of these guidelines and how they are apparently more enforced on certain communities has been brought into question. For someone to be an avid TikTok user, it is not necessary for them to create videos. Instead, they can opt to view and interact with them by liking, commenting, saving, or sharing. This can be done from the For You page, also known as FYP, which is a curated feed of videos presented to each user based on an undisclosed algorithm. This means that each user may have an entirely different content feed, depending in some way on how, when, and for how long they interact with certain content. The more a user interacts with the app, the more it learns and adapts its content to the topics it thinks the user will prefer. This will also affect the so-called communities a user will land on. The lack of visibility of people racialized as minus white on the FYP can be seen as yet another way to silence communities from free expression, even when following the rules. Despite these additional barriers, some users have been able to use the platform to perform or speak on issues of race and by users racialized as Black or other racially discriminated populations. As we'll see with a few examples, in this form of praxis, these creators have been able to educate their viewers or provide an outlet for communality through entertaining videos. In this way, humor becomes an affront to the discourse of systems of domination, but also with the intent to educate, entertain, and create community. For this presentation, I have curated a very short feed of videos, your own FYP, to illustrate the analysis I will continue to do related to languaging race and ultimately other social dimensions.
So this is part 2 of A Day in the Life of a Person Without Color, which, we both are. So for lunch, we'll usually have like a piece of dry chicken breast, like usually wrapped in lettuce. We've noticed that our POC friends have like more like colorful foods that like have like good smells and things, which is
there's just a lot of colors and a lot of smells, and we love all cultures and everything, but we just don't know why they have to put it in our face like that.
Yeah, like could they just keep it like private,
Yeah. And on that same sort of subject, in a lot of the Zoom calls that we're in, we always make sure to be really professional. Like, we'll put on our like blazers and straighten our hair and just like adhere to these like standards. But the POC in the meetings, they just come as they are, and it's like
John V. Madon and Tara Saroche use the acronym PWC and their username People Without Color to refer to plus white persons in a form typically reserved for minus white persons or minorities and people of color. In this video, they vent their frustrations about criticisms they often receive for simply existing as people of color in the U.S. They pretend to not be racialized themselves and make comments about food and standards of professionalism. Madon mentions putting on a blazer and straightening their hair, and by doing so, adhering to these white standards of professionalism. This illustrates how racialized populations bear an unequal burden in accommodating to a monolingual and in this case also monocultural order. In this example, note in the caption how they used a 3 instead of an E and an asterisk instead of an I in identities to avoid content suppression. This is Claire Brown, or @ClarabelleCWB. She creates skits that show flipped microaggressions against people racialized as white, who she refers to as European Americans. For example, she'll show discomfort with the word white, mispronounce names commonly associated with white people, reference straight or flat hair as unprofessional, or describe stereotypical actions or foods of people racialized as white as exotic.
Margin, it's been so long since you've come scuttling into my office. That hair, goodness, it's just so distracting. Have you ever considered perming your hair? Yeah, I wonder what it would look like. You know, if it was different. So what's the problem? We don't have any days off for Christmas. Does anyone in the office celebrate Christmas? Oh, you do? Adorable. We have half days for all of Hanukkah, and then this year we were able to provide all of Kwanzaa off. So I would celebrate Christmas then. We can't accommodate any additional time off.
In this video, as with other diverse skits, @ClaribelCWB, whose perspective is that of a person racialized as black, presents these flipped microaggressions where minus white status becomes the norm and plus white is now the other. She therefore switches the power dynamic by establishing blackness as the neutral position within society, and in so doing, challenging and critiquing established racialized social norms. She begins the video by calling out Margin, whose name is probably Margaret, the imagined receptor. This is a joke she often uses in her videos to reference when plus white speakers will often mispronounce names they consider exotic. She also feigns being surprised by Margin celebrating Christmas, using this as an example of how expectations, even of holidays, can be racialized. Something else that may be noticed is her reference to Margin as having distracting hair, and asking, "Have you ever considered perming your hair?" This comment is also a flipped microaggression which relates to how Spears indicates that race refers to categories in a racial system based on visible corporeal features, real or imagined, flat or unpermed hair being the main signifier in this scenario. Let's see the next one. The title of this video is "If White People Were the Cultural Other in Real Estate Sales."
This is your house? All right, yeah, this is fine. It's outside the city, but it's not the outer city. Let's go inside. Is this your family? Cute. Listen, if you want to sell this house, you need to remove all these photos and replace them with an all-American family. Okay? This one needs to come down. Anything gang-related needs to come down.
Remove all of these photos and replace them with an all-American family. Again, as a flipped perspective, she is referencing a black family as the all-American or real American family. This is a flipped example of the metonymy illustrated by Lieberson as cited by Morgan that explains how America serves as a metonym for white Americans but not so for black Americans. Brown also notes, pointing to the Live, Laugh, Love sign, that anything gang-related needs to come down, referring to this as a marked symbol of race and culture. Many of the videos by @ClaribelCWB illustrate what Morgan states. We must recognize that there may be embedded harmful meanings regarding race, gender, sexuality during what is thought to be general American communication. So, we could say that the speaker isn't saying anything insulting in isolation, but these carry significant meaning in context. Here we have the creator, Jasmine J.W.
Hey there, Jazz.
Hey.
Jasmine?
Yes, come in.
Okay. Awesome. Your last name, I'm sorry I couldn't pronounce it. Where is it from?
Oh, yeah, it's Nigerian. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Oh my God. Maybe I'll just call you by a shorter name. Do you have a nickname maybe I can call you?
No. People usually just pronounce it.
Are you kidding? I could never pronounce it, ever. I could never.
Oh, wait, let me finish this email. You sit down. Keep practicing, okay?
What?
Spell it out.
Jasmine J.W.'s video illustrates, as a response to a clear microaggression, what Morgan refers to as coolness, a counter-language signifier which, along with the positive social face, is valued because it makes the person appear inscrutable and in complete control of her emotions and body. Because her stance and social face are unreadable, she appears immune to racist taunts and threats and verbal insults.
Hi. Sorry, I don't know if you really heard, but this is like the line for first class right now. That's who's boarding right now. So
I'm in first class. Thank you.
Okay. Do you mind if I see your ticket really quick? I just want to take a quick look at your ticket. Well, I'm sorry. I just don't know if I believe you're in first class.
You gonna believe these hands?
Excuse me?
You gonna believe these hands though when they come at you?
What do you mean?
Believe them then?
I don't know what you mean by that.
You believe these hands?
Your hands? Are you threatening?
Yeah, you don't want to know what I mean either. Turn around.
Are you threatening me? Excuse me.
Turn around.
This is not even that serious. Boarding first class?
In a second video by the same creator is seen an example of the African American women's I Don't Play counter-language ideology, philosophy, and critique of racism and sexism that directly exposes and disrupts society's dependence on the marginalization of African Americans in general, and Black women in particular, in the construction of white privilege. She is taking her place in space and not allowing the white woman's poorly disguised verbal attack to deter her from getting on the plane in her first-class seat. With the same act, she is challenging the unwritten but enforced policy meant that in order to participate in the average Black-white interaction, a Black person minimally has to abide by language and communicative rules which function to mark a presumed belief in the superiority of a white audience or hearer. The last creator is @ModernWarrior. He uses his platform to educate by duetting and calling out problematic videos. He uses the catchphrase, "Hey colonizer," when the person he is duetting is falling into the trap of the colonial gaze. In sum, content such as this makes this app a liminal space or queer space, where some also have an additional layered function or racial subtext, that of counterhegemonic discourse. This includes progressive uses, including confrontation to established power structures. These reified ideas of Black versus white are challenged by these subversive acts of trans performance. Moreover, these illustrate words' definition of performance as highly reflexive, recognizable, and repeatable chunks of social action that can produce complex configurations of participation and time-space indexicality. This concludes my presentation, my references. Thank you, goodbye.